to 2020, all the way to 2020 and 2021 financial years, we allocated 300 million for revitalization and revamping of Nairobi National Park rehabilitation and upgrading of roads in the Nairobi National Park by Kenya Wildlife Service. Number 2, development of new tourism vision strategy 2021 by Tourism Research Institute, costed 35 million. Number 3 was construction of Ronald Gala Utalii College by Tourism Fund, allocated at 1.5 billion. And number 4 was mitigation and restoration of Safo National Park by Kenya Wildlife Service, allocated at 30 million. In total, for the 2 financial years, we allocated 1.865 billion. In the financial year 2021-2022, we allocated 100 million for domestic tourism programs by Kenya Tourism Board. And number 2, we allocated establishment of tourism portal by State Department of Tourism at 25 million. Number 3, we allocated establishment of water funds, drilling of bores and dams, and provision of water in Safo by State Department of Wildlife at 199 million. Number 4 was the feasibility research on tourism crisis and resilient by Global Tourism Crisis and Resilience Center based at Kenyatta University at 9.2 million. And number 5 was development of wildlife research strategy 2021 by Wildlife Research and Training Institute, allocated at 36 million. And finally, in that financial year, it was the extension development of Ukunda Airstrip Runway and apron extension works in Diani, Kwale County by Kenya Airports Authority at 173 million. In total, the financial year 2021 and 2022, we spent 542 million. In the financial year 2022 and 2023, classification and grading of Class A and B enterprises, these are hotels, by Tourism Regulatory Authority, we allocated 48 million, which have seen 9 counties star rated. Number 2 was the ongoing construction of the Ronald Gala Utalii College, where we've allocated 500 million. The refurbishment and renovation of WRTI, which is Wildlife Research Training Institute Sanctuary and Conference Facilities by WRTI at 59 million. We also allocated 43 million for evaluation and impact assessment of climate change on tourism in the country and design of appropriate climate response sustainable practices with minimum standards by the Tourism Research Institute. We also allocated rehabilitation of KICC fountain, water fountain, and also Safo Convention, Safo All at 54 million. We also allocated refurbishment of KIC Safo Boardroom by Kenyatta International Convention Center at 245 million. And we also allocated equipment of the new international training kitchen at Utalii College that we will see the uptake of the students go up by 65% to a tune of 250 million. We also allocated Utamaduni Restaurant by Bomas of Kenya at 36 million. But I would want to report that this project will be reverted. The money will be reverted because that project has been stopped by a presidential directive on another building that is coming up. Digitization of cultural tourism products by Bomas of Kenya at 48 million. Construction of Kasala Gate East National Park by Kenya Wildlife at 41 million. Destination of PR and digital communication by Kenya Tourism Board at 100 million. Refurbishment of 10 guest houses and bandas at KWS Parks by Kenya Wildlife at 20 million. Automation, signage, and construction of laboratories PDW compliant toilets at Fort Jesus Heritage Site by National Museums of Kenya at 50 million. Construction of 5 PWDs compliant toilets at the national parks by Kenya Wildlife Service at 15 million. Provision of 5 permanent water source in the Safo area, State Department at 100 million. Restoration of renovation of Nairobi Safari Walk by Kenya Wildlife at 50 million. Construction of perimeter wall around Wajir Museum, Obelition Block, Education Hall, and Site Interpretation Center, as well as the exhibition development by the National Museum at 50 million. Establishment of Eros Museum in Nyandarua County as a result of presidential directive at 50 million. Establishment of Ushanga Mega Hall and its facilities in Narok County by the State Department of Culture at 41 million. Establishment of the safety and security fences in Safo National Park at the border of Kitui, the one that I alluded to in the Honorable Mulungi's presentation at 50 million. Establishment of safety and security fences in Abadeas National Park at the border of Raliak in Laikipia County by Kenya Wildlife Services at 50 million. The funding, the total funding for financial year 2022 and 2023 amounted to 2.009 billion. The grant total funding allocated in the project since inception is 4 billion and is 4.23 billion. And I have given a table, that table 3, that is showing all these projects and more details. Honorable Mr. Speaker, sir, the Tourism Promotion Regulations 2019 Session 14 Sabbatical 1 provides the establishment of an oversight board to oversee the management and administration of the funds. The Tourism Promotion Fund Oversight Board is comprised of the Cabinet Secretary responsible for matters relating to tourism, who shall be the chairperson of the board, and in his or her absence, the Principal Secretary responsible for matters relating to tourism. We also have the Principal Secretary responsible for matters relating to tourism, the Principal Secretary responsible for matters relating to finance, the Principal Secretary responsible for matters related to culture and heritage, the Principal Secretary responsible for matters relating to wildlife, the Principal Secretary responsible for matters relating to internal security, the Principal Secretary responsible for matters relating to transport, and 2 persons of opposite gender appointed by the Cabinet Secretary responsible for matters relating to tourism in accordance to Article 27 of our Constitution. And finally, Honorable Speaker, the Chief Executive Officer as the Secretary to the Board. Honorable Speaker, the functions of the Oversight Board are to advise the Cabinet Secretary, and in this matter, Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury, on the funding requirements of the fund. And number 2, to review and adopt the estimates of the annual revenue and expenditure of the fund and recommend them to the Cabinet Secretary, for the time being responsible for the matters relating to tourism, for concurrence the allocation of the financial resources from the fund required by the tourism implementing agencies for the development, promotion, and branding to ensure that the annual estimates of revenue and expenditure for the fund include retention funds for the preceding financial year, which shall be reformed. Implementing agency annual programs are promoted for funding under this regulation, and to advise the Cabinet Secretary national to the fund, and also to approve and review the investment of surplus funds from the fund, and also to advise the Cabinet Secretary, and for this matter, National Treasury, on any additional sources of the fund for the fund, and also to approve the financial statement prepared by the administrator of the fund before submission to Auditor General. And finally, Honorable Speaker, to approve the non-financial reports of the fund before submitting them to the Cabinet Secretary responsible for tourism onward transmission to the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Well, you are satisfied? We got the next. Yes, Ferdinand Wanyonyi. Yes. Give him the mic. There
The Speaker, I want to thank the CS. She has elaborated on the allocations of funds from the ministry, and I have not had anything, any allocation to Mount Elgon National Park, which is very, very important park, Mr. Speaker. I just want to draw her attention on the same because it has been one of the best area and area of attraction for both tourism, local tourism, and foreign tourism, Mount Elgon. She has not said anything about it, and I think maybe by omission. But let me just tell her that it has been one of the biggest attraction.
Ask her a question.
So the question is, do you have any allocation to Mount Elgon National Park, which is actually been destroyed by the locals clearing the forest, what have you? And, you know, it's now being forgotten. Can I get an answer on that? If there's nothing, I'll make an effort even to come to the office on the same. Right? Can I know that, please?
Irene Mayaka. Take the next question, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would also just like to ask the Cabinet Secretary to please explain to us the criteria that she uses to select an area that becomes a beneficiary. Because, Honorable Speaker, for us who come from the Omogusi community, we have one site that was declared a protected site and a national monument in the year 2020, which is the Manga Hills, and which has 3 very outstanding sites, historical sites for the people of Omogusi. But this site, since it was declared a national monument and gazetted subsequently, it has never received any funding, not even to fence the site, so that the people of Gusii can begin to enjoy the benefits that come with having a historical site in their land. So I'd just like to know the criteria that is used, and if they can take into consideration having the only historical site in the land of Omogusi to be declared and to be assisted to have the same benefit. I thank you.
Mama Zamzam.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi namuuliza waziri wa utalii pale Mama Ngina Waterfront ni mahali ambapo wana Mombasa tumekuwa ni sehemu yetu ya kubarizi, ya kufanya mambo yetu ya culture, ya kukaribisha wageni. Kuna mwaka mliuchukua mkaweza kutengeza sehemu ile, ikawa mmeka ile bodi ya kusimamia, na ikawa kuwa ikimalizika muiregeshe kwa county government na hata ile Fort Jesus. Lakini mpaka leo Mheshimiwa Waziri, watu wetu wanatozwa pesa nyingi sana pale kwenda kukutana, kwenda kufanya zile program zetu kama utamaduni, na uliandikiwa na governor barua kuwa yapasa uiregeshe katika county government. Je, umepanga vipi kuhakikisha kuwa county ya Mombasa inaregeshewa ile Fort Jesus, sehemu ya watoto wa kuchezea mpira na kila kitu, na huku Mama Ngina Waterfront? Asante sana Mheshimiwa Waziri.
Mama Roida.
Ingine. Asante. Asante Bwana Spika. Tumeona TPF zile pesa zilivyoelekezwa hizi rasilimali kwa sehemu mbalimbali. Bwana Spika, nitakuwa na makosa nikisema Ministry of Tourism ndio imechangia pakubwa vita vya Al-Shabaab, inasaidia Al-Shabaab ili watupige Lamu na wapige Kenya nzima. Kwa sababu Bwana Spika, ukiangalia hizo pesa nyingi zimepelekwa, ukiangalia barabara za Lamu ambayo Lamu East, Lamu Mashariki, kuna Dodori National Reserve, kuna Kiunga National Marine, kuna na Boni National Reserve. Hiyo yote imechukua karibu Lamu Mashariki yote. Na barabara mwisho ilivyotengenezwa ya KWS ni 1979. Kwa hivyo mimi nitakuwa na makosa nikisema hii Ministry of Tourism inasaidia Al-Shabaab ili ndio tupate utovu wa salama uendelee Lamu.
Yes, Honorable Nyakundi. Yes, Nyakundi. Kitutu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, the Cabinet Secretary, for the good presentation. But I wanted to ask, on the Tourism Promotion Fund, how is the board constituted? Secondly, I understand you're the chairman of the board and the PS is the secretary to the board. Who oversights the two of you? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. Thank you to the CS. There is an area called B2, and I did not hear you mentioning the fencing of B2, or do you intend to deploy wardens to protect animal-human conflicts? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the CS. In that spirit, I just want to ask about Kakamega Forest. I didn't hear exactly how much, but more importantly, how do we ensure we fence it now? And secondly, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of promotion and tourism fund and facilities, can the CS just give us a few names of those counties that she said have benefited those 3-star facilities that have been supported?
Thank you, Speaker.
Give the mic to Nicholas.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to know and to ask the CS on the plans our ministry has for the Turkana South Game Reserve, which it has become hideout of the bandits who are terrorizing travelers from along Kitale-Lodwar Highway, and also affecting the life of the people living along that road at a place, centers like Kainuk, Kakongu, Kalemngorok, Kaptir, and the other centers along that area in my constituency, that is Lukwamozing, Lopi, Nakwakal, Karuko, Katamanak, Lokosmekori, Nilimwai Kemer, Nakukulas. All those areas have been affected by the bandits who are hailing from this national game reserve. So which plans does the ministry has for this game reserve, for these bandits to be moved out so that these people will not continue losing life, and also people losing their livestock, and people also being displaced? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mama Kwale.
Basi asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi nimuulize Mheshimiwa Waziri, nimesikia amesema kumetengwa pesa ya kukarabati uwanja wa ndege wa Ukunda, sehemu ambayo ina watalii wengi sana. Lakini muulize Mheshimiwa Waziri, unafahamu kuwa bado wananchi wale wanaotoka katika sehemu ile ambayo wamenyang'anywa uwanja ule bado hawajapata fidia yao, wananchi wa sehemu ya Mkwakwani, Ukunda. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Thank you, Waziri. Let me take, all these are about equitable allocation of public resources.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'll answer. I think I skipped one session. Probably I would have started by stating clearly what this fund is meant for, so that we can actually be aware what it can do and what it can't do. And I will just state very quickly on the purpose of the fund, so that we can clearly get what it funds. Number one, the objective and purposes of the fund shall be to provide funds to support development, promotion, and branding of tourism sector. Number two, without prejudice to the generality of paragraph 1 of this regulation, the fund shall provide for 1, financing development, promotion, and branding programs and initiatives in relation to tourism products, including tourism niche products and tourism events. Bar, financing, marketing, promotion, and branding of Kenya in specific local, regional, and international markets segments. C, financing tourism data capture, analysis, dissemination of the same and any other related research which may include deployment of technology-based applications. And D, financing development of tourism facilities and establishments in areas where the private sector is unable and unwilling to develop, but with a high potential for tourism promotion and branding. And finally, co-financing of tourism development and promotion projects with the county governments on the basis of the agreed ratio of matching grants. And so I just wanted to elaborate that so that we can also answer the question on the criteria, because it came. This is the criteria that guides us, which project, which county to get, based on what the fund funds. On the question on the Elgon National Park, I want to say that I have good news on this one, that already we are considering, because there's a request from the Uganda side. They have already cleared all their trees, and Kenya is really doing well on our side. And so we are working with the government of Uganda, and we have agreed to begin projects in this Mount Elgon area. Criteria used, I think I've answered on that. Mamagina, according to Executive Order number 1, 2022, I think it was...
Minister, you say you have good news for Mount Elgon and you end up saying nothing about the news. What is the good news?
Honorable Speaker, I thought by stating that you are going to work together with the government of Uganda to put revenues, especially in the area of the restoration of that mountain. And number two, the good news from Uganda is that they brought it because they have already done a sanctuary in Uganda in the name and honor of our president for the climate summit. And that's why we had to take that project urgently for that honor. And number three, we've already been given a feasibility study for that area, and it is in our waiting list that will be discussed in September. On Mamagina Drive.
Yes, Mama Roida. Hold on, Waziri. What is your point of order? Give the mic to member for Lamu East. Lamu East. Yes, there you are.
Mr. Speaker, is the minister, I'm sure the minister is out of order by insinuating that Lamu East is not a tourism destination. When he mentioned about swimming lions, the swimming lions, you get them from the Dori National Park. If you maintain the roads from 1979, by today, so many tourists have wangekuwa wameenda huko.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Allow me to say that I have not even touched on the Lamu question. Kindly be patient. I'll be getting into that question. But then respond on Mama Ngina waterfront.
Yes, Honorable Milemba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Give the mic to Mboko Milemba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this chance. The matter of Mount Elgon, which was quite expectant, the minister ended up talking about Uganda. Could the Honorable Speaker, Minister, indicate clearly what she has for Mount Elgon area, the good news, without Ugandan budgets? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. To respond to that question, I've just stated what we have already discussed, but also I've finalized by saying that we've received a visibility study for that area that is waiting discussion in September. But also to put some light on this, also we are aware that forests are under the Ministry of Environment, and so we are working together. So there are matters that we may not go deeper as a Ministry of Tourism, but we are considering the feasibility study for the touristic attractions in that area. On Mama Ngina waterfront, it is true that I received a letter from the governor of the county government of Mombasa on this agenda, and I want to confirm that on the executive order number 1 of 2021, Mama Ngina was part of the executive mandate of my ministry. But on the revision of executive order number 1 of 2023, Mama Ngina was nowhere. And I have already written these 2 letters to the agency that generates the executive order, so that by the time I respond to the governor's letter, I already know whether it's under me or not. And so I have the 2 executive orders here, and I can furnish the member of parliament. So we are actually on top gear on that, as long as I will be answered from the side where it is rests today. On the Lamu Road, indeed, Lamu is is one of the potential attractive counties in terms of tourism, and I want to confirm that we are not the ministry that is contributing to Al-Shabaab in this area. And I want to comment that we will be considering this road here as long as it is within the national park. But any other road that is outside, we may not consider. But also remember, the roads in our national parks are not necessarily funded from this fund, because it doesn't do that. We fund our national roads, our roads in the national parks and reserves from the levy amount that comes from the Ministry of Transport. And so we will be considering this. And I want to assure, Honorable Speaker, we are really working on this. And this week, actually this weekend, we are sending a team of all journalists to go and investigate the whole agenda of the attraction areas in Lamu, which we know is very rich. And I will be communicating to the House on that. How is the board?
Minister, why would you want to send journalists to Lamu when you have ministry officials? Or did we get you wrong? You said you are sending a team of journalists to Lamu. Why can't you send your own officers? I think that's
Sorry.
what members...
My apologies, Honorable Speaker. We are sending the Kenya Tourism Board,
not journalists.
which is mandated with marketing the destination Kenya to Africa and also to international, to the globe.
Yes, go ahead. Let her finish, then I'll give you.
On how the board is constituted and the oversight, I had already talked about that. I don't know whether, Honorable Speaker, I need to repeat on that. Maybe.
One member asked that there is a board where you, Minister, is the chair and your PS is the secretary. Who oversights you? Who was the member who asked
Minister.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that question. The regulation stipulates that I am the chairperson, but the PS is not the secretary. The secretary is the chief executive officer. However, when I am away, the principal secretary for matters regarding tourism sits on my behalf.
Okay. Have you answered all of those?
There's also a question on Kakamega Forest.
Yes.
We are working with the Ministry of Environment. As we are aware, forests are under Ministry of Environment. But from where I sit, I understand they are in progress of starting fencing of that forest. And probably I can provide the information. I'm very aware because I was in Kakamega, and I know that is happening. Counties star rated. In the last, we started with Embu County because it was earmarked for the celebration of Madaraka. And of course, we did Kirinyaga, Nyeri, Nakuru. We've done in total 9 counties. Probably I can check and I had written somewhere, but these are the ones that I can get for now. Embu, Kirinyaga, Nyeri, Nakuru, Nyandarua is one of them. So I'll check for the other 3.
Ukunda Airstrip?
Yes, that's where I'm coming, Ukunda Airstrip. And the Ukunda Airstrip is before the Turkana Game Reserves. Probably if you will allow me to answer that. Plans?
Waluke, what is your point of order?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think the CS is a bit confused because she's mixing the Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of Roads and Tourism by saying that the levies will be gotten from the Ministry of Transport, which is wrong. She is misleading the House, Honorable Speaker, because it is from the Ministry of Roads. That is where the levies, fuel levies found.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi nakuuliza waziri, unasema kuwa Mama Ngina haiko chini yako na barua ulipewa mwezi wa 11 mwaka jana. Tumemaliza miezi 10 mpaka sasa. Haujajibu barua, bado unatafuta executive order. Nataka unambie hii Mama Ngina wewe unavyoiona iko chini ya docket ya nani kama si ya tourism?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. As I said before, my ministry is not mandated in terms of issuing executive order, and that's why I sought solution with the office that is mandated. I have written 2 letters and I've made an inquiry with the head of public service personally 3 times, and I'm still waiting for the response.
Okay. Yes, Bwana Simba. Mbunge wa Changamwe. Give him the mic. You can't get him? What is happening? Can you put the nearest mic to where the member is? Because you are completely off the mark.
Okay, the other side. Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mine is to request the CS to conduct a study about the two areas. One is Lamu, and the other one is Mamangina. Mr. Speaker, you are aware, when you travel, in areas like Germany, beaches like Mamangina would have actually provided a very important tourist attraction. So I think it is important for the CS to try to give the priority to areas where we can generate revenues for the ministry and even for the county. So for Lamu, Mr. Speaker, you can't say you are going to build only roads to the national parks. How do we access the national parks if we do not have better roads, from the other side? So I think, Madam Waziri, we would like you to make thorough studies so that when you come to give answers here, you give answers which are satisfactory, to everybody. Otherwise, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity.
Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Just to finalize on the Mamangina agenda and probably what has been mentioned, we are already carrying a mapping of the touristic products in this country in the 47 counties. And therefore, this is a priority area, and so Mamangina is part of it, and Lamu. And so we are already doing this in connection and also in collaboration with the county governments, simply because tourism sector is devolved between the two levels of government, and therefore we have to work together. Again, if you look at the tourism attractions, they are either happening in a county or they are happening in a big one called Kenya. So there's no Kenya without the 47 counties, and so this will be considered. On the game, on the Turkana is also in the forefront of our mapping. And indeed, I want to say under this particular county, we've gotten a directive because there is a rebranding of this country to a home of human origins, which is found in Turkana. And therefore, we are doing a research in this area, and one of the earmarked projects and big project indeed that will be taking place in this area is the Cradle of Man Science.
Minister, did you get the question that the member asked?
Yes.
You are saying totally different things, Minister. The member was asking you about a forest that he alleges is a hideout of bandits. And he wants to know whether you have any plan as a ministry to protect the forest, the wildlife, from interfering with the residents of the area. Now you are talking of the Cradle of Man, which was not asked.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for that correction. We're working together with the Minister of Environment. As we know, the forests are under environment. We are also working with the Ministry of Interior in this area. But again, on that agenda, where my ministry is directly working is in the areas of, as I had responded, in the preventive measures that involves driveaways, that involves also provision of water, and that involves also collaboration with other development partners to ensure that we promote livelihoods in this area.
Next, Waluke. Yes, Mayaka, what's your point of order?
Honorable Speaker, I've been listening to the Cabinet CS answering the questions of all the other members except mine. I don't understand why.
Have you answered her question?
Sorry, my apologies, Honorable Speaker. I was actually progressing to answer all the questions. There are quite a number that are still remaining, and Fort Jesus is one of them. Fort Jesus